How many drafts did you delete before you sent that text? Or how many times did it take you to rewrite that email? Or better yet, you may have been sitting on an idea and or a project and you still haven't pressed the publish button just yet. But when will you decide to do so? Let me guess. You may say it's not ready just yet. And trust me, I understand what it's like to spend 3 hours on something that should have taken 30 minutes. Because I, you, and or we feel the need that it needs to be perfect. I know what it's like to have a whole list of ideas that will never see the light of the day. And for some reason, it felt like it just wasn't polished enough yet. You see, all these people are successful online and they are doing things that you know how to do and even better. Trust me, I've been where you are. I understand what it's like to see people online doing something that you want to do and you know that you will do it better than they would. Yet, you're still over here trying to perfect things. And on the surface, I do understand that perfectionism can seem like a good thing. It sounds like something of having high standards. Or maybe it sounds like you're caring about the quality. In a sense, it sounds like being excellent. But here's the reality. Perfectionism is not about excellence. It's about fear. But it's also about control. And that has you in this cycle of feeling as if you're moving forward, but you're really staying stuck in one spot. Here's what I want you to do. Imagine what your life could be like on the other side of this. Imagine actually finishing things or even hitting the post something without spiraling with your anxiety. You don't have to question yourself if it's good enough. Or you know what? Go ahead and start that project today. You don't have to have everything figured out. Imagine that version of you where you're actually making progress instead of just making plans and leaving it there. But you also can imagine a life where you're creating instead of consuming. You want to make sure that you're moving forward and not staying in that perfectionism loop stuck. And I want you to know that that version can exist. And believe it or not, you are closer than you think. Because see, perfectionism is not a personality trait that you're stuck with. It is a pattern that you can break. But let's start with why perfectionism happens. Here's a truth that no one wants to hear. Perfectionism is a defense mechanism. It's not about wanting things to be excellent. It's about being terrified of judgment, failure, or even rejection. So we convince ourselves to just make things perfect so no one has to criticize us. In that sense, you can't fail and you feel as if you're safe. But think about it. When was the last time you obsessed over something being perfect? I want you to ask yourself, what were you really afraid of? I bet you it wasn't about the thing itself, but it was about what will people think. And it was also about proving yourself. But you were also avoiding the shame of putting something out there that wasn't flawless. I need you to understand that perfectionism is just procrastination in disguise. It makes you feel like you're working or feeling productive. And sometimes it may look like progress. But in reality, you're just protecting yourself from the vulnerability of being seen. Because you feel as if as long as it's not done, it can't be judged. And as long as you're still perfecting it, you don't have to face the possibility of it not being received the way you wanted it to. Or even the way you hoped for. And here's another thing. We live in a world that rewards perfectionism. Social media only shows the highlight of someone's life. We see the finished product, but never the messy process. We see people winning, but we don't see the 50 times that they failed. So humans start to think that that is a standard. And sometimes people think that others just get it right on the first time. However, that's not true. Perfectionism also comes from something that is deeper. And that is not knowing what you are aiming for. When you know your purpose and when you haven't figured out what actually matters to you and why you're doing it, you start to default to perfect as being the goal. Because in reality, you ask yourself, what else are you supposed to aim for? If you don't know what you're supposed to achieve, you just keep tweaking, you keep editing and also perfecting for forever. And there's no finish line because you never define what done looks like in the first place. But let's talk about what perfectionism actually costs you. Because I want you to know perfectionism is not free. This pattern has a price tag and is higher than what you think. First and foremost, it's very obvious that the answer is time. Perfectionism is a time thief. You spend hours, days, and weeks to finish something and bring it out to show the world. And I'm not talking about being thorough or the quality of work. I'm talking about the excessive tweaking, the endless revisions, and the one more thing that turns into 17 things. Think about how much time you're spending. How many hours have you lost to perfectionism this week? Even think about it for this month, or maybe even this year. I want you to think about what you could have launched or accomplished within that time that you no longer have. But here's the wild thing that I want you to think about. Perfectionism makes you less productive. You think you're being efficient and thorough, but you're actually just spinning your wheels. You are busy without being effective, and you're working without progressing. But let's talk about what else it costs you. That is opportunity. Every day you spend perfecting something, it is another day that you are not doing the next thing. It's a day that you stop learning, growing, or even moving forward. Perfectionism can keep you in chapter 1. You'll see yourself rewriting the same lines over and over while someone else is on chapter 5. And it's not because they're better than you, and that is because they're willing to move forward with the good enough. But you know what's better than being perfect? It's being done. You know what teaches you more than planning? The answer is doing. You learn more by putting out 10 imperfect things than one perfect thing. But see, perfectionism convinces you otherwise. It tells you that you need to get it right before moving on. And that's just not how growth works. But it also costs you something else. And that is, you never actually enjoy anything. Even when you do something, and even when it turns out great, you can't celebrate it because you're too busy noticing the flaws. You focus on so much of what could have been done better that you don't even appreciate what you created. So, what's the point? You're not working towards the excellence that you'll feel proud of. You're working towards a standard to make you feel as if you're good enough. And see, perfectionism can steal your joy. It can steal your satisfaction, and it can steal your ability to feel proud of yourself. Because see, to a perfectionist, nothing is actually ever good enough. But fourth is your habits. And that is one thing that people don't talk about enough. Perfectionism shapes your daily habits and you don't even realize it. You become someone who overthinks everything, someone who makes decisions without agonizing over it. You may even turn into someone who procrastinates because starting, you end up realizing what those imperfections are. And you don't want to risk it. And that looks like someone who says, I'll do it at a later date and or time versus doing it now. Your habits are either moving you towards your purpose or away from it. And perfectionism creates a habit that keeps you stuck. It trains you to wait, but also to hesitate and even overanalyze. They affect everything. And those habits just don't affect one project. They affect everything. They literally become your default mode. And before you know it, perfectionism is slowing you down. But it's also defining who you are. But let's talk about how to move forward from this. You literally have to get clear with your purpose. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Because when you're clear on your purpose, done actually has a definition. You're not just endlessly perfecting something because you know what the end goal is. In a sense, you know what you're aiming for. You can simply ask yourself if this serves your purpose, or does this move you closer to your goal? You're more specific about the things you ask, and you're getting to the root of why. Your purpose gives you a standard, and that standard is not perfection. You end up asking yourself, does this serve what I'm trying to do? Instead of asking, is this perfect? Because the answer to perfect will be no. Once you do something, you can always go back to make it better. That is a part of learning and also growing. But another thing that I want you to do is to pay attention to your time and your habits. Sit down and see how you're spending your time, your days, your weeks, your months, and your years. You want to make sure that you're actually being productive. And the reason being is because perfectionism loves to hide in productive activities. It loves to make you feel like you're working towards something when you're really avoiding it. Don't let it pop up in the disguise of research, nor in the disguise of planning or organization. But there's something else. I want you to set a good enough standard and stick to it. Now, don't get me wrong, you can change this over time, but we at least need a starting point that will actually push us to get things done. And I understand that for someone who is a perfectionist, this is hard, but we have to start somewhere. And this start does require trust. And we ain't gonna talk about that right now. Ultimately, I want you to build a bias to push things forward. Make a habit to start things even when you don't have it figured out. And make a habit to finish even when you feel like it's not good enough. But also, share the things even when you're nervous. Because here's what happens. You build evidence that imperfect is okay. And you prove to yourself by handling that you can put things out there. You end up realizing that judgment, criticism, and rejection goes out the window. And you find out it's not as bad as you thought. So although it may sting, you survived. And you learn from it and get better over time. But see, you cannot get better if you do not start. You can't learn if you never finish. And you can't grow if you continue to allow perfectionism to keep you in the same space and place or spot. If you didn't learn anything from this video, I need you to understand that perfectionism is not helping you. It's keeping you stuck. And you'll never be ready, so you have the option to make a choice. Are you going to continue to be perfect and stay where you are? Or would you figure out your purpose, your habits, and your time and progress forward? It's all about changing your habits. So no matter if it's imperfect, if it's messy, or if you're scared, you just have to move forward because done is better than perfect. And progress is better than perfection. And your purpose is too important to be waiting for the perfect time when you could have been started and helped someone a long time ago. Stop perfecting and start living. I do it every single day as a contentpreneur. I'm a content creator who creates content on YouTube, but I'm also an entrepreneur with a business. Things are constantly changing every single day, but I get better and better over time. And things will look different in the future, but for now, I just take people on the journey with me and show up who I am and as I am. And I also help other people do the same, and that's why I create these videos. But hey, for more information like that, just check the description box down below. There, you'll be able to see more about me, who I am, and what I do, but also the people who have something to say about who I am and what I do. But I will have a link to an accountability corner down below in the comments that will have resources available to you. So in the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell below so that you're notified every time your girl Leea, posts a video. So with that being said, my name is Leea. I'm the face behind Content by Leea, and I'll see you next time. Bye.